Hi guys, I have a Copic coloring and a clean and simple card tutorial for you today. I am coloring Breezy Buttercup, which was from the very brilliant new spring collection by Make It Crafty. Make It Crafty comes from Australia, and down under they are getting spring and summer, while here we are getting fall and winter. It was actually 4 degrees cold outside today, really cold. The challenge for Make It Crafty this month, which starts today, is the color challenge is bright colors. And yeah, I might have used a little bit too little, but I do make the bright colors really pop. So that is what I'm going for here. We're going to talk a lot about this image today. I'm going to start about the skin coloring. I did it before the hair because this is a skin color I'm comfortable with. I know about how much shadows I can add to it. And if you look at the image, you see that on the right side I have left, and a little bit underneath on certain parts, I left a sliver of light flesh that is just white. I'm actually using the lightest pen and going over it at the end, and this is because I'm giving my little character some backlighting, sort of. I have my headlight, the sun, which is coming from the upper left corner, and then I kind of have like reflected light coming from the lower right corner to kind of make her a little bit rounder. It actually also makes her look a little bit more natural, because when we are out and about we usually do have lights reflecting from different surfaces. So that is the sort of part of the skin. Now we're going to go to the flowers. I have done very similar thing with them, where I just do the darker parts in the middle of the flowers. This also gives a little bit more of alive, like it's a little bit more dimensional, the very pink flowers, which is my bright colors in this design. I did have another color scheme in mind when I started with this character, but when I came somewhere here I decided that I needed to change that. For the dress, pants, shirt, I'm using the warm grays to kind of make it a light gray to white shadow. Again, I'm using the same principle by actually adding that little line, light line on the right side to give it a little bit more dimension and a little bit more liveliness. When it comes to the hair, as I said, I wanted to give her a very bright hair color, because that was the whole idea when I started with this. I wanted it to be bright blue. But when I got to the position of having colored her dress, I felt like it didn't really fit, and I actually sat for a good 10-15 minutes and just look at the image and like, I don't want to put my blue pens on that paper. So in the end I didn't. And so sometimes the images speak to you. It was like she was looking at me and saying, no, not blue hair. So instead I'm actually using the E40s, the lighter E40s, to give her a very light grayish brown hair. And the E40s are probably my absolute favorite colors, or brown colors at the moment. I have different. I'm more towards the 50s during summertime, but during winter I actually like the more ashen colors, and therefore the E40s, they are my go-to browns at the moment. And I really like that they do have a lot of different shades of the browns, because they have the 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, and then 47, 49. Which gives them, I think, 1 or 2 more shades than the other browns, which also gives me this opportunity to be able to use, as in this case I'm using the lighter E40s from E40 to E43 in our hair, and then I'm using the E49 to E42, I think, in her eyes. So I still have the same browns and the same tone to her, but I've chosen to use the they get a very dark eye and a very light hair. So when it comes to like hair coloring, this is something I think I mentioned last time I did a hair. I am really thinking about which of the strands are supposed to be behind and which of the strands are supposed to be closer to me, because the parts of the strands that are closer to me are going to be much lighter, and the strands that are further away from me is going to be much darker. So I talked about the coloring challenge for Make It Crafty, which is bright colors this month. It is coordinated with the card challenge, which is clean and simple with bright colors. So you have the opportunity to actually enter one card into competitions, but also what you can think about is the coloring challenge is a coloring challenge, which means you don't need to put a card together at all to be able to be in the challenges. The only thing you want to do is to make sure that you have a Make It Crafty image that you are playing along with. And don't you really like these, girls? It's a lot of hair, but it's a lot of fun. I think this is one of the most hair intensive images I've colored, especially on screen. I usually try to stay away from the too much hair when I do videos, because the videos becomes so long because it's just hair. But I want to show you the whole process of coloring her hair, that I add little details. And one thing also, I'm not going back in with the E43 because I want to keep the real brightness of her hair. Instead, I just putting one extra layer of the E42 in the deepest shadows, and so I build up with the E42 but started with the E43 in the shadows. For the eyes, if you look into your own eyes, you will see that the eye look almost cupped. So what you do is, if you create a dark area like I am doing here, then you actually get it to look a little bit more like a real eye. I'm also using some blues to mark her eyes, some grays for her teeth, and then I'm finishing off this image with some greens on the stems and some pink on her earrings. And that was the image coloring. Then I'm cutting it out, and yes, I'm cutting every little curl out. And one of the things I reflected over when I was cutting this is I have more control over my scissors if I cut closer to my hand than if I cut at the tips. When I cut at the tips, I don't have as good control on my scissors. So if you're having a hard time cutting your images out, try cutting in the deep wedge of your scissors, and you will see that you have a much easier cut. Now for the card, I am going to use the biggest die to make this little stitched rectangle. That was the assignment stamp stitch rectangle. And then I'm using some marshmallow by Basil for my card base, and I'm cutting it down to 5.5, and then I score it at 4.25, so it's a standard A2 card size, and that square rectangle will be just a bit smaller, so you will get a little bit of a border towards a standard A2 size. Then I'm going to use some of this 3M Scotch tape on the back of the image, or on the back, both on the image and on my little die. This is how I usually measure my tape. You can use like fun foam or something instead of this much of tape, but I have a hard time getting any foam here, so I use a whole bunch of tape behind this. But you want to use as much so you don't get any bends in it, so it's kind of a solid back. I also cut down some strips and pieces of this foam tape to add to my image, and I'm very putting small pieces onto those little curls also, because then they also will stay flat on the image, and it will be much easier to send it in the mail. I add a lot of dimension to my cards, but I still do want to be able to send them in the mail, because I rarely meet people, and I know a lot of fun people out about all around the world that I only met on the internet, so then you want to be able to send them. Then I'm just adding the card to my card base, having that little amount of border around it, and then I put her on. I have one little thing left, and that is I'm going to make a mini sentiment. These are alphabet chippies, mini caps chippies, also by Make It Crafty, which you can get from the Make It Crafty store. They are pretty small and really beautiful, and I actually really like them. So I start by coloring them with my Copics and coloring these black. So you can use a lot of different mediums on these chippies, but I just wanted something very simple for my little hello note on the card. I'm using the pointy end, cutting that little piece off. They are stuck to the board with a teeny little bit of a piece, so I cut those off, and that little piece will be a little bit lighter than the rest because they are like laser cut, so they are black all around except for that little piece where they stuck to the mold, sort of. So I'm using the black pen to kind of color that over to make it less visible. Here's a little tip that I found out watching YouTube for someone's video. I'm using some masking tape and putting it with the sticky side up. I'm folding it under a little bit so that I can put it sticky side up, and then I'm spelling my letters backwards because that was easier this time. I have this little piece of paper to kind of make it straight onto that tape, and then I'm spelling hello backwards and mirrored, maybe even mirrored, to get those spell out hello properly. I'm using some multimedia glue on the back side of those letters to put them onto the cards, going over with my finger lightly over to kind of remove excess glue. Then I'm taking the tape and I'm putting the tape onto my card where I want the letters, and I press the letters down carefully with my fingers, and I let the glue dry. This glue actually dries very fast because I haven't cut away anything, and you will see it's soon glued down, and I can move the little tape away, and then I get this little sentiment that is perfectly straight without needing any kind of lines onto that white card. And that was the card for today. I hope you liked it. If you do, please thumbs it up. It means a lot to me. If you have any questions, just comment down below. If you want to see more videos like this, just hit that subscribe button. And here are 2 other videos with Make It Crafty images that do show doing bright colors in a brighter way. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!